Prime Minister Hsien has celebrated the 10th anniversary of the US Singapore Free Trade Agreement at a ceremony in Washington, D.C., and he's urging US lawmakers to back the proposed Trans-Pacific Partnership that the Obama administration hopes to finalize by the end of the year. Mr. Lee told America's Council on Foreign Relations that the proposed agreement, which faces obstacles in the US Congress, is of great strategic and economic importance.
What a difference 10 years makes. It's been a decade since the US and Singapore signed a free trade agreement that now serves as a landmark in the two countries' economic relationship. And as Prime Minister Lee continued his meetings in Washington, his first stop on Tuesday was the US Federal Reserve for a visit with relatively new Fed Chair Janet Yellen and discussions about the global markets, then a visit to the Department of Energy for talks with Secretary Ernest Moniz. It is the new energy in the US-Singapore trading relationship that he is celebrating here this week. A reception at the US Chamber of Commerce allowed free trade proponents to bask in figures showing $68 billion in bilateral trade in 2012, a 70% jump since the treaty was inked. Singapore is now the #1 destination for US investment in Asia and the third largest Asian investor in the USA.
It's enhanced America's long-standing presence in the Asia-Pacific, and it's caused other regional countries to sit up and to take note, and to think how they too could deepen their relationship with the US. Because if Singapore decided to do it, presumably we must have concluded there was some sense in the purpose.
Enthused about the achievements notched up by the US-Singapore Free Trade Agreement, the Prime Minister is seizing on it as an example of how the US can benefit from a deeper engagement with Asia. He told a gathering at the Council on Foreign Relations that he's hopeful the Trans-Pacific Partnership will soon be finalized. He wants to see it ratified by the US Congress. And more generally, he's urging US officials in the Obama administration and outside it to put real muscle into the so-called foreign policy pivot towards Asia.
And we strongly support that. And we understand that for that to be meaningful and to have substance, it cannot just be just talk. It cannot even just be security, which is important, but it has to be a broad engagement of the region. And you have many other issues on your agenda. Iraq preoccupies you, so does Iran, so does Syria. So does Eastern Europe and Ukraine. But we hope amidst all that busy platter, you remember at least once a day that in Asia you have many friends, many interests, and many investments.
That approach, he said, will pay dividends, especially at a time of what he called friction points in the region.
The right approach to that is not to pull back, neither to be just lovey-dovey, but to engage constructively, but at the same time understand where your vital interests are and be quietly firm where vital interests are involved. And I think that's what the Chinese are doing, and I'm sure they expect the Americans to do no less.
Mr. Lee's meetings continue here on Wednesday before he heads to the Big Apple to launch the New York office of Singapore-based investment firm Temasek Holdings. Simon Marks, Channel News Asia, Washington.
It's my pleasure to invite everyone.
Indonesia's disaster agency has warned that the haze could return to neighbouring Singapore and Malaysia. It's reporting a huge jump in forest fires in the Riau province. A spokesman said more than 360 hotspots had been detected today, more than triple the number in the province yesterday. He added that the wind is travelling east-northeast and the likelihood of the smog reaching Singapore and Malaysia is getting higher. Unhealthy levels of air pollution have already been recorded in several areas of Western Peninsula Malaysia. These include Banting in Selangor and Putrajaya, the administrative capital. Singapore has so far been spared the haze, with PSI levels still in the moderate range. But the government has already warned that this year's haze could be worse than last year's record levels.